Hello everybody, it's Nick here with Nick Tolman Music, and today we're going to go ahead and continue our beginner guitar lesson series using the Hal Leonard Guitar Method, Book 1. Let's get started. Alright, so today we're going to take a look at page 36 here in the Hal Leonard Guitar Method, Book 1. On page 36 we are going to learn a new chord, which is the D chord, D Major Chord. We're also going to learn a new song called This Trian, which is a great classic kind of gospel bluegrass type tune, and it should be a lot of fun. Before we get started, definitely head on over and check out my Patreon page if you haven't already, and consider becoming a patron today. As a patron of Nick Tolman Music, you have access to a lot of extra content to help you along your journey of playing guitar. Again, go check it out, see what's over there for you, and consider becoming a patron today. All right, so starting out talking about the D Major Chord. All right, this one is not an overly challenging chord to play, although it will take a little bit of adjustment, as we've mostly in this book used the D7 chord, and this is a very similar chord shape, but it's going to kind of be a different fingering, right? So starting out, you'll notice that for the D chord, we are not going to strum the low E or the low A. It's just going to be the top four strings. Then you're going to have an open D string, right? Then our first finger is going to play the note A here on the third string. Our third finger is going to play the note D here on the second string. And then our second finger is going to play the note F sharp here on the first string. Again, it looks very similar to the D7 fingering. It's just kind of like inverted, I guess you could say. But because it is, it's a re-fingering, right? Because we have to use our fingers a little bit differently, right? It's almost the same chord, but on the D7 where you have your second finger on A, now we're going to have our first finger on A. Same with the F sharp up here. For D7, you would have your third finger on F sharp, but for D, you're going to have your second finger, right? So I would definitely take some time to practice just moving between D and D7 and really get comfortable with the difference between these two shapes, because they're both really important shapes to have mastered. Alright, okay, so that's the D chord. Now let's look at some of these progressions that are going to start utilizing this. Now, as always, however you learn a new chord, definitely take things slow. You don't want to just jump right in and make bad habits right out of the gate. You want to take it slow, take it easy, and just get yourself comfortable with this new shape. So we're going to start the metronome at 72 here for exercise 84. If you need to start slower, please do so. All right, so here's exercise 84, 72 on the metronome. 1, 2, ready, and play. There we go. Nice progression. Really, this one is highlighting that D chord especially, right? We have a move from E minor to D, and then C to D, right? So just kind of focusing on that. If you're struggling with it, take the metronome completely out of the picture and just focus on those shapes for a while. Just E minor, D, C, D, and just do that over and over again, nice and slow. I know it can be a little bit monotonous when you're going so slow, but it will be well worth it in the end. Once you're feeling a little more comfortable, add that metronome back in and start getting the time rolling, building it up faster and faster until you can just whip right through that progression, no problem. So here's a faster tempo, 120. This is kind of a goal tempo for you to work up to. 1, 2, or 1, 2, ready, and. And that's the idea. All right. Let's go and try the same thing with exercise 85. So here is 72 on the metronome. Starting out nice and slow. Again, if you need to start slower, please do. If you need to take the metronome out of the picture altogether at the beginning to just focus on those chord shapes, please do. But this is the idea of like kind of starting the metronome slow and just slowly building it to just, for one, to build your familiarity with this new chord shape, but also to just be able to play at a variety of tempos across these chord progressions. So here we go. Here is 85 at 72 on the metronome. 1, 2, and ready, and play. This one can be a little bit tricky because we have that situation in the second and fourth measure where we have D for only 2 beats and C for only 2 beats. And so they kind of go by pretty quickly, even at a slower tempo. So again, it's just really going to be key to start slower if you need to. If that was uncomfortable, if you weren't keeping up with the metronome, then start slower and work your way up even to this 72 tempo that we just played. All right, keep building that tempo eventually, and here is a goal tempo of 120, and here's what 85 would sound like at that. 1, 2, or 1, 2, ready, and. And that's that. These progressions can be looped, and please do just loop them over and over and over again. I mean, they're good progressions. As much as you need to feel comfortable with them, okay? All right, lastly, let's take a look at This Trian. This is an old gospel song. It's been performed as a gospel tune, also as a bluegrass, country tune, rock, all of those things. Very common song. Let's give it a try. So I'll start out, I'm going to play the melody for you at 72, then we'll talk about it, we'll add the chords, and then we'll bump the tempo up and talk about singing it as well. So here we go, 72 on the metronome. Here is exercise 86, This Trian. 1, 2, ready, and play. There we go. All right, so this one is not overly challenging. Like many of the melodies, it's kind of in the same realm as a lot of the melodies that we've been playing recently. So it should come pretty easily. Some of the things that you're going to watch out for are the tied notes. Now, this is something we did a lot more a few lessons back, but we haven't done in recent lessons. So just reminding yourself of making sure that you're holding the tied notes out as long as they need to be held, because there are some long notes in this. All right, so starting right at the beginning, it's just open strings. And then second measure, we start using our second finger. right? That first line, it's all open strings and we use our second finger twice. That's it. Basically no left hand action is going on at all except for a couple notes, right? And then again we hold that in the third measure. We have this Trian, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 into the second line. Now that one, we do have some more fingers that are being used in the left hand, although it's almost all open string and third finger. Until the last note, which we utilize our second finger. Right? Again, a very simple melodic thing that's happening. Counting all the way through that long note, and then we have the third line. Again, open strings and third finger. Now second finger. The third line is the most complicated of all the lines, but it's not that hard. So just kind of spend your time on it. On those eighth notes, I am doing down up on all of the eighth notes. I would just recommend that. If you're not currently doing that, start working on it and just kind of make that as a norm. If you see eighth notes in a row, just like get used to down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and getting that picking motion more and more comfortable. And then moving into the fourth line, it's very similar to the first line. Actually, it's exactly the same, all right? So that's the idea. Very simple melody. Let's go ahead and hear what it sounds like with the chords. For this, I'm going to go ahead and do a down, down, up, down, down, up strumming pattern like we've done on many of the others. One, two, and ready, and play. And there it is. All right, let's take the metronome marking up to about 120, which would be a good goal tempo for this song. We'll play the melody and the chords, and then we'll talk about singing it as well. So here we go at 120 on the metronome. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and... There it is. Let's go ahead and add the chords to that. Again, this is 120 on the metronome. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and... And there we go. All right, so let's talk about singing. If you've watched some of my previous lessons, the process is the same on all of these, but I will definitely walk you through it again on this one. And that is, when you're learning to sing one of these melodies, basically the first thing that you have to assess is how well do you know the melody? Can you sing that melody all by yourself? Is it a song that you've known for years? You know the melody, you can sing it in the shower, in the car, whatever, you know it, right? Or is it kind of new to you and you need to work it up, brush it up, make sure that you're singing the right notes? Okay, so what do? We start by playing the melody, which we just did. We've learned how to play it. And now we're going to start singing along while we play that melody. So, this train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory. If you want to ride it, you must be holy. This train is bound for glory, this train. And once you're really comfortable with that, that's kind of the point where you're like, okay, now I'm going to try to sing it all by myself. So I'm going to give myself that first note. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory. If you want to ride it, you must be holy. This train is bound for glory, this train. All right. So even me, right there, if I was wanting to like sing this and perform it, I would probably go back and work on a couple of those little intervals and notes that they were close, but not as well as I maybe would have wanted. So I go back and play with the melody several times until I'm really feeling comfortable. I can just sing this melody and I know it really well. All right. At that point, it's time to start adding it to the chords. So I'm going to play it at 120 on the metronome, and we're going to give it a shot. So here we go. Here's our first note. 1, 2, oh, 1, 2, ready. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory. If you want to ride it, you must be holy. This train is bound for glory, this train. And there it is. That's the idea. Take it step by step, slowly adding it. It's gonna take a little time to get it all under control, but once you do, it's a lot of fun to play. So thank you so much for tuning in today. That is our lesson. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or otherwise, please leave those in the comment section below, and I will do my best to answer those for you. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so, and please stay tuned for our next lesson. We'll see you next time. Thanks.